My name is Lisa Shea, and this series is all about horror stories for horror authors and horror readers. So in today's story, we're going to talk about Ring Ring, which is one of my short stories. This is 13 pages long, 31.99 words, and it's available on Amazon and Kindle, and it's in my compilations as well. So I'm going to have spoilers in this. If you care, you can go read it first and then come back. If you don't care, then we will just plow ahead with the Ring Ring stories. And my cat Zuzu is laying on my mouse pad right now, so I have to mouse on the opposite side of my screen. We'll see if she gets up to come join us at some point, but right now she's taking a nap, which is good. Alright, Ring Ring, some background. I work from home, and I'm a writer, and I run a bunch of websites and so on. So I work all days of the day and night, or all hours of the day and night. And I could be working at 3 o'clock in the morning, or I could be sleeping at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It all just depends on what I'm working on. So ringing phones are a problem for me. I'm at the point now where I've got all the house phones turned off, but then someone will still call my cell phone every once in a while at a time that I am not pleased by. So this was written back when I had the house phone still on, so that it was ringing, and it would ring right when I was asleep. So the phone rings, and she wakes up, and it's 3:14 a.m. I love the number pi, so 3:14 is going to show up in a number of my stories. So she picks it up, and someone who seems to know her, but she doesn't recognize, starts talking with her and starts harassing her. So part of this is with the way Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and so on work nowadays. Once you're out of school and you've moved on with your life, people can still find you and track you down. And there's all sorts of cases where you might have done something to someone and completely forgotten about it as just a non-important part of your life. But for the person in question, it was a really important part of their life. And the reverse happens. Things that you remember as key moments of your childhood are things that other people don't even remember happening. So that seems to be the case here, where this stranger is calling her, and this person has no idea who this stranger is and what they did and why they could be bothering them. So the person who called doesn't admit who they are or why they're calling. They're just going to keep harassing her. So she goes to sleep. Next day she wakes up. Phone rings again, 3:14. They're still harassing her. The main character, we'll call her the heroine, did try to figure out who it could possibly be, but apparently she didn't figure it out well enough. So they hang up. She still can't figure out what's going on. The person calls again. Now she's getting a little frustrated and annoyed and upset. So we finally get a clue that it was someone from their junior year of high school, or from high school in general, and that it was Marissa. So Marissa is the caller. We don't know who the recipient is, just the heroine. And it turns out that now she remembers what she did to Marissa. It was that Marissa's younger brother was out in the yard crying and looked like he'd been hurt. And so the heroine went home and told her mother about it, and the cops were called, and the boy was taken away because he was being abused. So this is another theme that runs through my stories. This poor boy was mentally challenged and was being abused by his family for it. And the family's rule was that no one should ever talk about it because they didn't want anyone to know that they were abusing the boy. And even though the heroine was from a different family and didn't know what these rules were, she did talk about it because she was concerned about the boy. And now she's being tormented by the older sister of the boy. So the boy was taken away. They kept him in the cage for his own good because that's what parents do sometimes. And she said that he didn't go to school because he was so stupid. He stayed home, and I kept him in line. So this was a very hostile environment for the boy that the heroine was trying to get the boy out of. And she didn't even know all the backstory. She just knew that he was hurt and needed help. And she didn't even call the police herself. She told her mother, and her mother did it. But she's still now culpable for causing the rift in the family. So next night, the phone rings again. The heroine had tried to figure out what happened to Marissa, but she can't find any record at all of what happened to her after high school, or even that she graduated from high school. It just seems like she vanished. So she didn't pick up the phone this time. She just let it go to voicemail. But now we're getting these messages on the voicemail from Marissa And it seems that Marissa knows a lot of things that she shouldn't be able to know about the heroine's life, about the inside of her house or the things that she's saying. So now we start to wonder if this person's a hacker and has hacked into one of her Amazon devices or one of her webcams or something like that to be able to hear those things. So now things are getting to a different level that it's just not a normal harasser. So then it goes ringing again, even though she's turned off the ringer. So now we start getting into a supernatural sense. How could she have made ringers turn on if the ringers are off? And we hear that the father in the family was not a great father, which we could guess if the younger brother was put into a cage. And that the concept of people who go to suicide go straight to hell, which is another thing that concerns me. All of these things, that's why I write these stories, because they're things that concern me and that I want to address in some fashion or another. But this poor child committed suicide, and because of all the agony that he endured, and now the sisters worry that he's going to go to hell when none of this was his fault at all. He just had to endure this as a child. So Marissa's saying that the heroine is going to pay for causing all of this. So now she's trying to sleep again. Her call went to voicemail. Now we start getting the threats that Marissa is going to make her pay for causing all this problem because she was talking when she shouldn't have been talking. So now at this point, she's got all the phones out of the house. There shouldn't be any phones. There shouldn't be any way for Marissa to call her. And of course there's ringing noises anyway, and now we know that it's got to be something supernatural going on if there's still ringing, and if she was able to actually get into the apartment. And she's translucent, so now we know that she is a spirit. And she has a rope burn on her own neck, so we get the sense that the reason that she couldn't be found after high school was that she herself committed suicide in high school. So she herself is in hell. And what a lot of people feel that hell is not a place where external demons are, but where your own demons are tormenting you, your own fears and angers and all those things that you passed away with are now within you and causing you angst for the rest of your existence. So Marissa has put herself into her own hell, in essence, by all of her angst about what is happening. And perhaps it was her brother's passing away that got her able to cross over to start impacting the heroine, or maybe she just had built up anger for long enough that she was able to cross the line and be able to harass the heroine. But in any case, she ends up cutting off the heroine's tongue so the heroine can't talk anymore. So the issues that I was working through on this one, again, come down to not being able to talk, and maybe because I'm a writer and communicating is so important to me, that the idea of not being able to talk and express the way that you're feeling is such a big issue. And also the issue of how we treat mentally challenged people, and the concept that you shouldn't talk about these things, that families should not talk about them because outsiders might come in and stop you from doing the things that you're doing, even though that gives a sense that you know that things are not going well, if you don't want others to know because you think others might judge you for the way that you're treating people. So in both of the stories, the Death Watch and this one, it involves parents mistreating a child with mental challenges and the child having an awful fate because of what the parents are doing, and the concept that the parents do not want this talked about with outsiders. So those are the main issues here, and add in the issue of people calling you in the middle of the night who should not keep waking you up and harassing you like that. I suppose that adds into there. But where the first one was mostly not supernatural, except if you say at the end the aunt causing the pain to last longer might have been a supernatural element. In this one there is a strong ending supernatural aspect to it, because that's the only way that Marissa was able to come back from the dead to harass the heroine, who stays nameless. And I left her nameless for a reason, so that she could sort of represent every person in it. That, we don't talk about her age really, except that we know that she's out of high school. We don't talk about her, I don't know, any other aspect of her size, her shape, those sorts of things. It's just any sort of person could be caught in this situation. So let me know if you have any questions about the story, if you have any things you'd like me to talk more about, or how I put in the details of it. I suppose I'll mention that I set part of it in Salem because I love Salem. I go there all the time and I have connections there. And also I set part of it in Sutton because that's where I live. So I like to try to put in detail the places that I know so that I can keep the information as authentic as I can. So ask if you have any questions. Let me know if you're writing similar sorts of stories. And please like and subscribe to the channel. And I will post another video shortly, and we'll see if I can get one of the cats to participate this time. Thank you, and have a great evening.